Mysteries. People love mysteries. It's fun to theorise and question our reality. What's occurred? What chain of events led to them? Who was behind it? What were their intentions and why did they do it? For as much as we know about the world, it's only human nature to be curious about the unknown, the rumours, the legends, and for that reason, today I'm going to go over the Unsolved Crimes and Mysteries Iceberg. The specific one I'm covering today is by Washomasu on the Iceberg subreddit, so shout out to Washomasu. Also, this iceberg is a bit different to what I usually do on the channel, so if you like it, please give me a like and let me know what you think down in the comments. Anyways, without further ado, this is the Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg Explained. Up first, we're going to go for the Loch Ness Monster. Now, there are a few mythical creatures that I could put in this spot instead of the Loch Ness Monster. I'm not going to go over all of them because there's just so many. But if you're a Bigfoot or a Yeti fan, basically everything I say here applies to them too. Anyways, the Loch Ness Monster is a creature in Scottish folklore that is said to inhabit the Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. The first alleged sighting of the Loch Ness Monster was in the 1870s, but the publication of this sighting wasn't released until the 1930s. While it's fun to theorise and stuff about what might be at the depths of the Loch Ness, all sightings of Nessie can either be disproven, or the camera quality simply wasn't good enough to get a clear look. So if there actually is anything there, it's kind of debatable. And if you believe in the Loch Ness Monster, good on you, just don't go mental about it and dedicate your existence to finding it or anything, because the likelihood is it doesn't actually exist. Obviously, same thing applies for Yeti and Bigfoot. I'll move on to Jack the Ripper, probably the most famous serial killer of all time. One of the reasons why Jack the Ripper is so famous, however, is because Jack was never caught. The Ripper killed at least 5 people in 1888, and all confirmed victims were prostitutes. He tormented the police, and many people think that his kill count was actually a lot higher than the 5 confirmed. The murders are so infamous that they're even taught in school. I distinctly remember my substitute history teacher telling me that he was certain that Jack the Ripper was a surgeon or a person who worked in the morticians because of his extreme skill in dismemberment. The theories are so far spread and there are so many suspects. Some people even think that Prince Albert Victor was the Ripper, the grandson of Queen Victoria. Even today, while there are theories and new data coming out, no one can really be sure. The prime suspect right now was 23-year-old Aaron Krominski, a Polish barber. Even with this theory, there are still a few problems, and so even over 100 years later, we still don't have a definitive answer. This mystery is unsolved. The JFK assassination occurred on November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. He was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald, who in turn was later assassinated by Jack Ruby. Now, when the assassin gets assassinated, it leads questions to why? What did he know? What were people afraid of getting out? It's thought that Jack Ruby had links to organised crime. Some people even think that Lee Harvey Oswald had links to the mafia and that's why he was killed, because he might have given up some secrets. And this is where the mystery begins. Was Lee Harvey Oswald working alone, or was he working under someone? Was he the mastermind, or was he merely a patsy? Due to his assassination, it's tough to know, and since Jack Ruby only died a few years later, it really is quite grey. We just don't know why he was assassinated, what larger purpose did it serve. And while today, President Kennedy is one of the most revered and well-regarded presidents in history, especially in modern history where we've had some shaky presidents to say the best, if you've seen The Irishman, you'll know that Kennedy had a lot of friends, but he also made quite a few enemies during his presidency. Did one of them bite back? We just don't know. Speaking of The Irishman, we're going to go for Jimmy Hoffa next, because at one point he was one of the most famous men in the world, and today he is slowly becoming forgotten about. Regardless, I thought I would just take this opportunity to say to you, go watch The Irishman if you haven't already. Martin Scorsese is potentially the best living director in my opinion, so definitely watch it. Anyways, born in 1913, Jimmy Hoffa was 62 when he went missing on July 30th, 1975 in Michigan. Hoffa himself had links to organised crime and is often cited as one of the people who helped define unions and their role in the workplace, being an activist and an advocate for them. Anyways, his links to the mafia might have been his downfall, however, as his disappearance in 1975 is widely thought to be at the hands of the mob. It was. It clearly was. Now, the mystery comes in because we simply don't know what happened on that Wednesday afternoon 46 years ago. In The Irishman, it's portrayed that Frank Sheeran killed Hoffa, whereas other people think it was Salvatore Sally Bugs Bergoglio, a ruthless killer acting on the orders of the Genovese family. Additionally, whoever killed Jimmy Hoffa aside, his body was never recovered. Some think that it was dumped in an oil drum. The Irishman claims that it was burned. We just don't know, and the mystery of what happened to Hoffa is still unknown. The dancing plague of 1518 is something very interesting indeed. In July 1518 in Strasbourg, which will be located in modern-day France, the legend states that a woman out on the streets began dancing with passion out in public. This was seen by people who decided to join in with the dancing. The only thing is that the people couldn't stop. They literally, physically could not stop, and eventually others realised that this dancing wasn't by choice. The tale states that about 15 people died each day for a short while in Strasbourg. In total, it's thought that between 50 and 400 people were caught dancing without control. Now, while the legitimacy of this story is questioned to this day, explanations of the dancing plague are thought to have either been food poisoning or that of stress-induced mass hysteria, or perhaps something more supernatural going on. Of course, at the time, people put it down to the devil taking hold of people in this small town, but regardless, if it did happen, and it happened to dozens, if not hundreds of people, this would be absolutely one of the scariest ways to go, just dancing for days, not being able to stop, not being able to control your body, being merely a passenger in this dance to death. The Gardner Museum heist. I think it's only natural that we all love a good heist story. Maybe one day I'll even do a heist iceberg or something. And ladies and gentlemen, the Gardner heist is a doozy. The year was 1990, and it was the early hours of Sunday, March 18th. There was a party going on near Gardner Museum that was just getting out. And this is when the suspects were first spotted, dressed in police uniform. Guarding the museum was Rick Abath and Randy Hestand. Now, while Hestand was a regular night watchman, it was Abath's first shift. The criminals went in posing as police officers and were able to subdue both guards after being let into the building. They went on to steal 13 paintings: The Concert, The Storm on the Sea of Galilee, A Lady and Gentleman in Black, Landscape with Obelisk, Chez d'Ottoni, Self-Portrait, La Sortie de Passage, Côté Environ de Florence, Programme for an Artistic Soirée 1 and 2, 3 Mounted Jockeys, an Ancient Chinese Gu, and a French Imperial Eagle Finial were all stolen on that day. Every single one of which has never been recovered. And so there's a few things to say here. Firstly, it's clear that these men knew exactly what they were doing, exactly what they were going in for. This heist was near flawless. The paintings they stole were worth 500 million. The fact that it was Abath's first shift, the fact that it was the night of St. Patrick's Day and so police are already going to be well spread out dealing with drunken hooliganism, and the fact that they were able to lead the security guards to the basement after subduing them without being told where the basement was tells us that these people or their associates had absolutely been in the building before, absolutely had been planning this for months. Conmen, the security guards themselves, and the mafia have all been suspects. But to this day, we don't know who the two men posing as policemen were. Who were their associates? Why did they steal those paintings in particular? Where are the paintings? We have no idea, and therefore this is absolutely unsolved. Nothing about this is known, even, 30 years later. Cicada 3301. So I can't be as thorough as I'd like to be on this one because it would take all day. There's so much about this that is really, really interesting. But if you're interested in finding out more, I'm going to link Lemino's Cicada video in the description because he does a great job in going into the details. Anyways, on January 4th, 2012, a user by the name of 3301 posted this message on 4chan. They were looking for only the most intelligent individuals to come into contact with, and so began the game of games. One of the most difficult puzzles known to man. The first image led to the second, followed by a book containing numbers for a phone number. The phone number gave clues to solve the next puzzle, which led to a website which gave a countdown. Once the countdown ended, coordinates were put up containing locations from 5 different countries all around the world. At each location was a poster with a Cicada logo and a QR code, which led to an image. The image contained a puzzle, which when solved, led participants to a website. Now the website, unlike all the other puzzles, only allowed a certain number of users in. They were looking for the best, not the followers. From there, we really don't know what happened to the people who were able to make it to the website first. Cicada reappeared in 2013 and then 2014 for a second and third puzzle, and from people who claim to have made it to the end, it seems as though Cicada are an international group intent on developing software that keeps their information and online activity private. Whether or not these accounts can be trusted is questioned, but Nox Populai's account is likely the most reliable, and he has a YouTube channel that I'll link in the description. Now, allegedly in the first year, 20 people completed the puzzle, and 5 for the second year. As of today, no one has completed the third puzzle. Additionally, many of those who claim to have completed the puzzle stated that Cicada have gone quiet on them too. Perhaps they failed another unknown test. Perhaps Cicada were even choosing inside the winners. But again, to this day, no one knows for certain who Cicada are. No one knows if anyone they looked for actually became part of the team. No one even knows what for certain they were doing. And no one knows for certain if they're even around today. There is so much mystery that shrouds Cicada. It's quite impressive. The 21 grams experiment is intriguing to say the least. So in 1901, Duncan McDougall wanted to determine if the human soul had a weight to it. To do this, he went to nursing homes and identified 6 patients whose death was imminent. 4 of the patients suffered from tuberculosis, 1 from diabetes, and 1 from some other cause Wikipedia doesn't really care to say. Now, when the patients seemed close to death, McDougall would hook their bed up to industrial weights and compared it to what happened after animals died, which he likely poisoned. Their weights did not change. However, when the humans died, things were different. 2 of the humans' results couldn't be counted due to technical difficulties, but what about the other 4? Well, 1 of them reportedly immediately lost weight, but a few minutes later put that weight back on. 2 of them lost weight, and a couple of minutes later lost even more weight. However, 1 reportedly immediately lost 21 grams at the time of death. As much as it might be a start of something, the sample size was so small it would be impossible to come to any rational conclusions without repeating the experiment, which simply shouldn't really be repeated. It's quite unethical. The study itself has come under fire within the scientific community for various reasons, but since McDougall never repeated the test, dying in 1920, there's not a concrete answer for why the participant lost 21 grams. This is the same weight as a tablespoon, so it's not that much, but it's not an insignificant amount. Does this mean that the soul does have weight to it? We just don't know. Was it something else? Maybe, but the cause is still unconfirmed, unsolved. The most mysterious song on the internet is referring to, well, the most mysterious song on the internet. I'll play a little bit for you now. While creepy in context, I think the song's actually kind of decent, but ever so eerie. Maybe that's just down to the context of the song though. And you might be wondering, why is this the most mysterious song on the internet? It doesn't seem too weird. Good question. And the answer is simple. Nobody knows anything about this song. Nobody knows when it was recorded, not even the exact year. We think it was recorded sometime in the 80s, but there's no proof of this. Nobody knows who sang the song. Nobody knows who produced it. Nobody even knows what it's called. It goes by many names. A man by the name of Darius S. first recorded it on a cassette tape back in 1985, which was digitalized years later, and eventually, in 2019, a Brazilian teenager heard the digitized song and began looking for it. As we know, there's no information to be found. Like, you can't look up the lyrics because no one even knows, no one's even spoken about this song before. It's, that's probably the worst case of like, what's this song called? From there, the news was spread all over the web and the entire internet began looking for answers. But as of April 2021, we still aren't any closer. Nobody has come forward claiming it was their song. Nobody has come forward saying they produced it. The song has no owner, it has no names and no answers. Overtoun Bridge is located in West Dunfordshire, Scotland. As the name suggests, it's obviously a bridge, but what separates it from most bridges in the world is that some people believe that something supernatural is occurring on the bridge. The bridge was completed in 1895 by H.E. Mealer and was only built to connect Overtoun House to more places. So what's so supernatural about Overtoun Bridge? Well, the bridge is often called the Bridge of Death or Suicide Dog Bridge due to the many dogs jumping off the bridge very frequently. The bridge got its name back in the 1950s, but the story of the bridge only raised in prominence in the 21st century. Since the original reports of dogs jumping off it, 50 have died, with at least 600 others jumping off but surviving. Obviously, you'd be asking the question, why is this happening? 650 jumps is absolutely not an anomaly. There must be some sort of correlation. While a few people put explanations down to the scent of mink in the air that aggravates dogs and causes them to jump, or maybe perhaps the surrounding foliage of the bridge tricks dogs into a sense of calm and they don't think that the jump will be that far, or perhaps even that the bridge is haunted. There are just so many theories and stuff, but despite this, it's still an unsolved mystery because we don't have a definitive answer yet. We just don't know exactly what the reason is why all these dogs are jumping off the bridge. So if you live in West Dunfordshire, don't go to Overtoun Bridge if you're walking your dog. The Georgia Guidestones, or American Stonehenge, are 2 stone slabs with text on them erected in the 1980s. They were proposed by a man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian, working on behalf of an anonymous group of loyal Americans, which had been apparently planning what they wanted to have on the structure for 20 years. A message containing guidelines was inscribed on the monument, with each guideline being in English as well as Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese, and Russian. Those 10 guidelines include 1. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. 2. Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. 3. Unite humanity with a living new language. 4. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. 5. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. 6. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. 7. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. 8. Balance personal rights with social duties. 9. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. 10. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. So what's behind all of this? Well, firstly, the guidelines have come under criticism for being quite survival of the fittest-y, and due to the nature of its contents and its demand for control of population and whatnot, it's come under the watchful eye of conspiracy theorists. While some believe that R.C. Christian was a Satanist or a Luciferian, others believe that the message was built at the height of the Cold War and therefore was advice to future generations on a world that had already been ravaged by war, assuming that the population of the world had already been lowered to less than 500 million. Still though, we don't know for sure who R.C. Christian was, who he was acting on behalf of, or what their intentions were, or anything else about the ordeal. It is just simply a mystery as to what they wanted and why they wanted to put it up there. And finally, I'm going to talk about the Texarkana Moonlight murders, which is referring to a series of unsolved murders located in Texarkana, Texas, between February 22nd and May 3rd, 1946. Now, while I'm not going to go into full details of each murder here, I'm going to link a thorough explanation in the description if you're interested. Anyways, the perpetrator allegedly confronted the couple of Jimmy Hollis and Mary Larry on February 22nd, 1946, dressed in a white mask with holes cut out over the eyes. The man then cracked Hollis's skull with his gun. Apparently the crack was so loud, Larry thought that he had been shot. The man then injured and assaulted Larry before fleeing, not to be found. However, both Jimmy Hollis and Mary Larry survived. Exactly 3 weeks later, Richard L. Griffin and his girlfriend Polly Ann Moore were found dead on a local lover's lane inside their car, both dead by gunshots believed to have been inflicted by a .32 caliber pistol. No witnesses were able to give any fruitful details on the death of the couple despite over 100 false leads, and so while both people in the first couple survived, both in the second did not. The killer was starting to kind of get more bold, more dangerous. The next attack happened on April 13th, nearly 3 weeks later, in which Betty Jo Booker and her boyfriend Paul Martin were found dead. However, they weren't found together. Instead, Booker's body was found 2 miles away from Martin's. The couple hadn't been fighting and were on good terms. Obviously, a murder had occurred. Both had been found shot with a .32 caliber pistol, the exact same weapon used in the first double murder. Additionally, just like with the first 2 crimes committed, these people were also a couple. There was quite a lot to link between these crimes now, a pattern was appearing. However, the damage done to the bodies was getting more extreme. Paul Martin had been shot numerous times. Again, the killer was becoming even more bold, and this is when the killer was also dubbed the Phantom Killer by the press. The final crime thought to have been done by the same man occurred on May 3rd, when Virgil and Katie Stark were both attacked in their home from a man in the yard, shooting them through the window. Virgil died, but Katie, while shot in the face twice, with one bullet going through her ear and another through her lower jaw, was able to escape to a nearby friend's house, which was when the authorities were called. Now, this couple was older than all of the previous, and they were attacked in their own home, leading some people to believe that this was the work of a different person. Texarkana at the time was known for the ultra-violence that occurred in the community. However, we don't know to this day because the case of the Phantom Killer has never been solved. The prime suspect was UL Swinney, a man dobbed in by his wife Peggy Swinney, whose claims were taken seriously due to her providing information that the police hadn't released to the public yet. For that reason, either she was in the area at the time and indicted herself, or she was telling the truth. Despite that, UL was never charged with the murders, and for that reason, the attacks are still unsolved to this day, with UL Swinney dying in 1994 and all physical evidence being exhausted at this point. Okay, and that's it from me. I want to sincerely thank everyone for watching this video. I recently hit 2,000 subscribers, and I wanted this video to be a kind of 2K special, I guess. I wanted it to come out well, and I kind of think that it has. So we're going to be doing a Discord call this weekend, so join the Fox Kimbo Discord if you're interested in being that. Link in the description if you want to talk to me and other members of the community about just anything. I mean, about the channel, about its content, you know, anything related. It should be fun. Even though this is my first time doing anything close to this, so it might go kind of tits up, but we just don't know. Follow me on Twitter at FoxAkimbo and send iceberg charts to foxakimbo@gmail.com. This iceberg in particular was created by Wushumasu, and while I didn't include all of the entries, you can find the full iceberg in the description, so shout out to Wushumasu. Anyways, let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see me do next, as I'm only 36 videos in, and I'm already out of ideas. Thank you for watching.